you steal mine? Yeah, you stole mine.
No, we have two.
You stole mine.
No, I did not. I think we just overlooked one. Because Mr. Mitchell has two. They overlooked you.
Jody. Jody, did you make a packet for?
He, he, he said I took his.
You didn't mail it to
Get
me.
in the fella's fence.
I didn't take his.
All I have is the one that we took home Friday or Thursday.
So you need this one?
Yeah.
Have they cut it yet?
It's emailed.
Yeah, but I don't take emails. I take the ones you print me.
We got
I
another
made
one.
one just for you.
Big old
Oh,
road trip.
yeah,
Good, how are you?
60 and 5.
You ready? Good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
Let us call the special meeting to order. Would you please stand for the invocation? Heavenly Father, thank you for the day that you have given us, O Lord. Lord, we ask you, would you please renew our hearts and minds, O Father God. Father God, we ask you, would you lead us and guide us in the right direction of the parish, O Father God. O Father God, bless everyone in this parish and the other parish as well. Amen.
Amen.
Father, may the pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. To the jurors, we're going to start with the special meeting first to get it out the way. And the guests and public comments to the special meeting agenda. Being none, any additions and deletions to the special meeting? Being none, new business. Adopt the ordinance 10 of 2023 creating prospective precincts by the merging of precinct geographic in accordance with the Louisiana Revised Statute 18-532 and 18-5321 to amend certain precincts' legal description and to assign polling location to precincts.
You need a motion?
Yes, sir.
I so move.
I got a motion by Mr. Mitchell. Got a second by Mr. Kennedy. Discussion. This is for, do you want to kind of elaborate on it, Ms. Amanda, or you? Good evening, by the way.
Mr. Mike couldn't be here tonight, so he asked me to come in his place to answer any questions y'all may have. This is, so with the precincts that were passed earlier in the year with Plan H, there was still a freeze in place from the census on, you could create new precincts, but you could not consolidate down any of the old precincts. So the maximum number of people allowed in a precinct is 2,200. And if you have anything less than that, and you know you can consolidate two that will still be under that geographically together, it saves the police tree money in the long run as far as paying commissioners and having polling places open, and the state as far as having additional machines and stuff. So now that the freeze has been lifted, all of the precincts that could be merged will be merged with this ordinance.
Okay.
There's 12 that will be merged, and I believe that puts the parish at a total of 56 precincts with the merger. So the 24th is the deadline to make this change for the fall election cycle, and basically you want to go ahead and pass the merger, even with the pending issues with redistricting and stuff, because if you don't pass the merger and Plan H stands, you're stuck with the additional 12 precincts for this election cycle. So we just want to go ahead and, if y'all are good with it, pass the merger to get us down to the minimum number of precincts that we can have. So that's my conclusion.
Thank
I was
you.
reading through some of these things, Amanda, and I saw where it's gonna make some of these folks have to go a pretty good piece to go vote.
So
I'm concerned with that.
okay, you'll have to talk to Mr. Mike about that. As far as the polling locations, like, is there a specific one you're concerned about, a specific?
I done forgot, it was a couple of them that I saw.
I mean, I recommend the polling locations, but y'all approve it and authorize it. So
Right.
if there's something you want changed, y'all are the ones that name it. That was just my recommendation of them. So,
Yeah,
y'all had the final say, so not me.
Did y'all look at it? Did y'all really look at it? Cause some of these, it's gonna be kinda hardship on some of these people. Got to go pretty good piece, and they not gonna like that.
Yeah, Ms. Burrell, on that end, there's a, when Mike was here before, and I don't remember the mileage, but there's a mileage number that nobody can travel more than, is it 6 or 7?
I would be lying if I said, but there is it's less than a recommended number.
I think it's less than 10 for sure,
Yeah.
but I want to say it was like 6 or 7. So, I mean, they might have to travel more than they used to.
And we actually do have some precincts that have less than 300 people in them, and because they're geographically isolated, meaning they're not close to another polling location, and it would cause people undue burden to drive that far, we have a few that are geographically isolated and kept open for that reason. So, Mr. Mike does run the distances of from the polling location to the boundaries of the
What
precinct.
I'm telling you is, I'm used to these registered
Yeah.
voters. And some of these things, we did this one before, I think it was in your district. But people had
It's
to.
fixed.
Yeah, it's fixed. On the other hand, we got some more folks that ain't fixed.
Yeah.
And I'm telling you, they gonna have a problem coming way from somewhere to go vote way somewhere else. Now, I'm telling y'all.
Do we have a map of all the precincts?
'Cause I
Mr.
looked
Mike
at 'em, I
does.
just got to
Yeah.
I
find.
have,
We don't have that?
I have the list of the polling locations.
Not what we're voting on, though.
No, yeah.
That's probably 20 years old on the wall. The only reason I'm asking is because I know the last time, and Mr. Baker may correct me, but I don't think we use more than one North DeSoto school location. And it's listed on here as the pre-K, as the high school. It seems like we got more.
We have more precincts for sure, but we did use more than one North DeSoto location.
There's been 3 at the
Yeah.
schools.
3 separate locations at the
There's
schools.
been 3 separate locations at the schools.
That's not new. The only new locations would be the Grand Cane Baptist Church Gymnasium, because the Grand Cane polling locations were filled to the brim with machines and things. They had run out of room.
I guess what I'm
space.
trying to find is like District 2.
Mm-hmm.
What precincts now make up District 2?
I
Know what they were the last time.
Yeah, y'all would have to look at your maps. I mean, Mike's,
I don't think we have, I don't think he sent, or I don't think I have that.
I know,
I know where District 2 is at on
yeah.
the map.
I don't want to speak out of place, but I know he sent the precinct maps to myself and Jody at one point with the district, I believe, overlay on them, if I'm not mistaken.
I'll find out real quick.
Yeah.
Let me see if I see them in my email.
This year?
I believe so. Let me look.
Didn't they split the one in Frierson? We're using both fire stations now because we had 3 precincts at one.
That's what I have recommended
Yeah.
in this ordinance. Yeah, the,
Using another
the
fire
new
station.
fire station would be in
Moving one of the precincts out of the old fire
into
station.
the
to
new
that
one. So that's another new polling location. And then the Clista Calhoun Center would be added as a polling location, and the, oh goodness, Keachai, old fire station in Keachai would
Yeah,
also be
see,
utilized. So that's
I
4
You're
there.
right, the Clifton Calhoun Center was one of some people got moved too, which moved them. And I'm saying this for a good reason, cause I'm so familiar with, because I do election, I'm familiar with who been voting where and how it's going, like the Clifton Calhoun Center. The folks out of, I'm just giving the example because I forgot. I should have highlighted it out. But if the folks down 509, they might have a problem with that. A lot of these people is walking to go vote. See what I'm saying? which could cause a hardship on them to go vote. But if we pass this today, we stuck with this, we can't make no change?
The 24th is the deadline for this election cycle to make changes to polling places.
Well, we might need to wait, cause
Yeah, the map, I do
know
have
the heat
one
folk gonna have a problem.
from April the 11th.
I believe that was around the time I got the last one. My stuff is not loading, so.
But what was sent to, and Jody must have just sent them out to each individual juror and copied Michael on it. But what's in pink is not my district. It's more, it's part of Greg's, it's part of
Right.
Jimmy Holmes. And there's, every precinct except one is split on this map. So that's why I'm asking
Yeah.
for. And I don't think you can split precincts. Or they ask you not to.
Yeah, I have no input as far
Understand.
as that goes at all.
You're the messenger.
That's it.
No, I understand.
yeah.
I'm not upset about it. I'm just,
Yeah, y'all have the final say-so on it all. I just know if you're intending to change precincts for this
Right.
fall election
Got to
cycle, it
follow
has
it.
to be done prior to the 24th. And so,
I have a question.
Yes, ma'am.
So if we leave as is, that means we'll have more precincts and more
12 more.
money
Yes.
versus making a decision now. And I'm sort of like Ms. Burrell, that if it's gonna be, I would like to know as far as the mileage.
10 miles max.
10 miles. You can't go over that by law.
That's
do-
what they said, we ain't supposed
So
to
do
be
we,
precincts,
so do
but
we
still.
know whether or not the new ones that are in place are within that radius, that 12-mile radius?
10-mile radius.
10-mile radius, I apologize.
Yeah, I'm pretty
Per
quite
Mike,
sure it's
he
gonna
was,
be
so
under.
he
Oh,
confirmed that they were. I don't have a way to
Okay.
check that, but per Mr.
Okay.
Hefner, they
Okay.
did.
I'm pretty much guaranteed it's gonna be under 10
Okay,
miles.
I just
You know,
want
under.
to make sure.
Nah, I'm telling y'all, familiar with it now, I just can't put my hand on to write this in a minute. But I'm telling you, I'm familiar with these precincts, like he might told one of us he couldn't split precinct, cause he split mine. I mean, he told me I couldn't split the precinct, but now you telling me we got 2, 3 split ones. I think we'll be making a hasty decision because I'm gonna do this again. I have did this parish wide, and I be with Amanda now when we closing down the machines and all this, that, and the other. And I think it'll be for us that the jury a wise decision. Is let's just wait till the next time, cause we need to take a look at this, a serious look, cause your constituents gonna have, some of our constituents gonna have a problem. And I ain't gonna say, I don't even think it's in my district that I'm talking about. It's in the rest of y'all district. I know Miss Trina is one of them, cause I know where our people vote. And they was already fussing about them having to move the last time, so, I believe yours might have been one of them. But we need to
Does-
go through these and read them.
Does anybody on the jury have a map, or have you seen a map of your precincts? Mr. Baker, have you seen yours?
No, but I can look at the printout and tell which ones are mine, pretty much.
Me too.
But no, I have not seen a map.
Well, I'd like to make an alternate motion, that somebody get a map and give it to us, and we can put it on the agenda for the 17th as old business. That's just next Monday. We still meet your deadline. But I'm not
I will tell y'all, if someone wants to come by my office to see, I myself have a big map, and I took and starred each polling location, and it's got the precinct outlines on it. I wish I had thought to brought it tonight, because I didn't realize that would be a question that would come up. But I do have that. I can't scan it or anything because it's so big, but just so I could visually see where each polling location was and what precinct was going there. That way, because I did have in mind the amount of driving people would have to do. And I forwarded my recommendations to Mr. Mike and said, if you would verify the mileage, these are my recommendations barring anything, exceeding the recommended mileage. So if someone wants to see that, I do have that at my office.
I'll come by tomorrow, but I can't, I'm not trying to make a mountain out of a molehill, but I can't vote on something when all I have is a list of polling locations.
Yeah.
But I don't know who's going to those locations.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay, we gotta alter the motion, put it as old business. for,
Next Monday.
Next Monday, 17th. Do we have a second?
A second.
Ms. Trina Boyle, second. Alter the motion. Any discussion on the alter the motion?
Yeah, I just wanted to, say, I'ma ask everybody to read they stuff so you can see, cause she gave me good detail of where this is, you know what I'm saying, the binary lines, the whole thing. So you know, if you know this finna affect your people, you need to be getting in touch with Amanda before it's
Yeah,
time for
the
us to
precinct
vote.
locations are ultimately up to y'all. Y'all asked me when I took it from Mr. Evans to make recommendations, and I knew we had some where our commissioners in charge were telling us they were just overcrowded, and so I tried my best to address their concerns and all of that stuff.
You just pick the polling locations,
That's
right?
it.
Mike
Yeah.
puts the
I
lines.
had nothing else to do with
Understand.
anything else.
Yeah,
The
I
only
understand.
recommendation I made to him was that our smaller municipalities, it's less confusing for the voters and less confusing for the commissioners when they are all within one precinct. So legally, single municipal precincts are allowed if they are under 2,200 people population, and that was my only recommendation because it eliminates people that live within there to go to one place. So that was my only input other than the polling locations.
Jody, will you email him tonight and see if you can get that?
Talking to him
Yeah.
now.
So,
All right,
y'all good?
go ahead.
I asked,
Yes.
what's your hours?
We're open from 8 to 4:30, same as y'all here. And I will put the map out in the morning. I have some doctor's appointment for my knee in the afternoon tomorrow, but I'll be there till lunch. I'll be there from 8 to noon. But Karen will be there afterwards, and Abby will be there as
I
well.
won't
so.
get there until Thursday. I have two
Oh,
workshops.
that's fine. I'll be
tomorrow, so-
around. So, yes, ma'am.
Okay.
I've got physical therapy a few times, but I'll put
Okay.
the map up front where it's easy to see so Karen can show
you.
it to y'all.
I appreciate it.
Yeah. Y'all give me a call if you have any other questions.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, would you please vote on the alter the motion? Motion passes. A motion to adjourn from special meeting.
I'll move.
Got a motion by Mr. Rowe, second by Ms. Burrell. We'll adjourn for the special meeting, and we'll just move right on into the committee workshop.
Okay.
And we have guests and public comments by Mr. William Bradford with Desiree presentation.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. How are y'all, fellas?
Wonderful. Thank you for the hospitality and allowing us to come present today. My name is William Bradford. I am a partner at the law firm of Blanchard, Walker, O'Quinn, and Roberts, and we represent the East Shaw Renewable Investments. I think you're very familiar with this project at Dole Hills. I have with me James Condrit, he's the project lead for this area, and Mike Basada, who is a representative of the Northwest Louisiana Finance Authority. We are, again, thankful for the opportunity to talk to you all, each of you today, specifically about this project. We know there's a bit of history there, and we appreciate to take what I'd like to describe as a hard reset on how we're approaching the financing of this project and hopefully moving this project off center and forward throughout this community. One of the things I want to emphasize at the very beginning and onset of this conversation is that the East Shaw Renewable Investments and this project expects to be and will be a very valuable community partner, and we will continue to invest in this community beyond just the bounds of this project. You're being handed some presentations related to the actual numbers, the tax implications that this may have. And what we are asking for, unlike the previous ask, is I think a more reasoned and deliberate conversation on the financing of this project, and one that includes the local community first.
Right.
And make sure that your voice is heard and that not only are we addressing our financing and taxing needs, but also, most importantly, the needs of your constituents in the community. And so what you have before you is a presentation related to what we call a payment in lieu of taxes. A payment in lieu of taxes is an arranged negotiation between the taxing authority and the developer for a tax abatement of a portion or all of the tax proceeds that you would ordinarily receive in ad valorem tax payments. This is a negotiated amount, and we have presented what we believe to be a number that allows for meaningful participation in the tax basis for this community while also allowing our project to move forward. The reason you see Mr. Basada here is that the pilot, a payment in lieu of taxes, has to go through certain constitutionally authorized or statutorily authorized entities. He represents the Northwest Louisiana Finance Authority. I know you may be familiar with some earlier discussions about potentially creating an industrial development board for this process. We don't think that that needs to be done. We think that this finance authority, which is a regional finance authority, can shepherd and hold the pilot arrangement in favor of the parish. And so, Mr. Basada, we'll talk about that in brief in a few minutes. To discuss what we're talking through now, if you're looking through the packet, you'll see that, and I believe your administrator, Mr. Norton, who's been a pleasure to work with, provided you with an even more detailed, granular discussion on the impact of the police jury. But ultimately, we do pay taxes throughout the pilot, but a portion of them are abated. And so this pilot that we're requesting, this payment in lieu of taxes, exists for 10 years. The expected lifespan of these projects can range up to 35 years. So from years 11 through 35, you will see a significant increase in the tax revenue that this parish generates year over year. One of the things to be aware of is that you also, and what is not abated, is the sales tax impact that we will have in this community. One of the outline, and I believe the sales tax, as indicated, would be somewhere in the amount of, and I'll go to the other presentation.
Just north of $7 million.
Yeah, just north of $7 million, thank you. And so that's a good segue. I'll let James speak for a few minutes on the history, the size and scale of this project, the impact that it could have on this community and will have on this community, and a little bit of history on, why we're here in the first place. Again, 100% of the power we generate under these projects is sold back to you utility providers. This is based on demand for capacity and scale for these types of energy utility projects. And so this is not an instance where we're doing solar panels on rooftops, but we're making a large capital investment in your community for the purposes of providing additional power capacity for and bandwidth for your utility provider.
Yeah. Thank you very much, William. So I appreciate you guys taking the time and speaking with us again. I know that we had discussed back in November the prospect of this pilot's application for ITEP. Well, that was shut down. I think one of the main reasons being for a lack of permanent jobs in lieu of the ITEP abatement that was perceived. We wanted to come back here and color outside the line, so to speak. We wanted to have that discussion with you so that we have the ability to say, okay, we went through the ITEP process through the state of Louisiana. We understand that that was turned down. How can we work with you guys so that we can better understand your needs, better understand how we can help you provide for those needs, and what better ways that we can come and be more cohesive with the community. So, one of the ways that we're thinking about doing this is obviously we're looking at a lower abatement amount, 65% versus the 80% that we had initially discussed, when we were previously here. But just to give some further background on the project, just that we've discussed this several months ago, but just as a quick refresher. Our company, Desri, is working in tandem with CLECO. CLECO, as you all are aware, shut down the Dole Hills Lignite facility back in December of 2021. This project is looking to replace that generation. That project, the lignite facility, was shut down, as your Mayor Mansfield has noted, was mainly due to the fact that the lignite that was in the ground was becoming so wet and so unusable that you could, in the way I believe he put it, was you could scoop it out with a bucket. So it was inoperably expensive, it was not very efficient, and so CLECO deemed it necessary to shut that power down. But they didn't want to just shut that power down and move out and not have any generation to come around, because they still wanted to incentivize other folks to come in and continue to develop and invest in DeSoto Parish. So for example, other large commercial, either manufacturers or commercial loads come in. If they see that there is renewable energy in the area, they're more inclined to come. So this is a 330 megawatt project. It spans roughly 4,500 acres. That's enough to power roughly 50 to 60,000 homes, average American homes, let's call it. And so, it's a relatively large project. As you can see, the taxable basis is approaching $450 million, and so it's quite an investment on our part, but we're looking to find a way in years 1 to 10 to stabilize in terms of, really in terms of financing the project, trying to find a way that we can stabilize the tax revenue such that, you know, we're not taking on as much risk and the project becomes furthermore viable, as, you know, we also have large interest payments. Much like anybody here who owns a home knows, first 10 years of owning a home, you're paying very large interest payments. And so we're looking to stabilize that stream of you know, expenses that we have to you all as a parish, as well as, you know, come in on the side and say, hey, where else can we help? So, you know, William touched on the sales tax that's available here. We're also, you know, we've talked to the sheriff. We, you know, have talked to in the past the school district on what other side initiatives has the community talked about. I think a couple months ago there was a vote that was ultimately turned down to increase the sales tax for the purposes of the animal shelter, for mosquito patrol measures or preventative measures, things like that. So if there's areas where in the city of Mansfield, there's roads that need to be paved, things of that nature, we're happy to have those discussions and further. That's, you know, can come in a side agreement. We can talk about that either here or in a later date, but just wanted to throw that out there as well.
And one thing before Mr. Posada speaks, you know, and getting to know James, we have very honest and open conversations, and one of the things that we're very aware of is the impact and importance of oil and gas in this community. And so we want to make sure that you understand that our project can coexist. We are only concerned with surface rights. The minerals remain, and the ability to drill continues. Again, this is a very tailored use for a very specific place. And so keeping in line with that concept, again, our purpose is not to overwhelm or replace any other energy source. It is to become a partner in our energy community. And so we will continue to make that effort and continue to work with our non-renewable resources as well. And so we understand the importance of that to this community, and we've had that discussion both with the administrator, with the sheriff, and several other entities involved in this process as well. What I'd like Mr. Posada to talk about to you is basically who is the Northwest Louisiana Finance Authority and what is their authority to host, I guess maybe the word I want to use, the payment in lieu of tax arrangement should this body elect to move forward, which we are hopeful it will. And of course, at the end of that, we'll field any questions that you may have.
Sure, thank you. My name is Mike Busada. I'm an attorney with Butler Snow Law Firm and program counsel for the Northwest Louisiana Finance Authority. The Northwest Louisiana Finance Authority is a local public trust that's authorized by state law. Traditionally, public trusts that had statewide jurisdiction were all in Baton Rouge. So if you wanted to do this, you'd go to Baton Rouge like we have to on so many things, and the fees that you paid would stay in Baton Rouge, and you know everything was handled there. This public trust was authorized to really serve Northwest Louisiana and to ensure that, number one, you would have easy access to communications and to working with the Finance Authority. But then also one of the things is that all the fees that will be paid, 85% of those fees that are paid that we collect as administrative fee are segregated and are restricted only for use in DeSoto Parish based on your authorization. So we maintain the funds for you. We will have a cooperative endeavor that basically says that if whatever you want to use those funds on for economic development purposes, we'll release them at that point. Those fees are held for you. And so that's a big point that I want to make. Two, we handle all the compliance. So every year of this pilot, we will send out the invoices. We will do the audit. We will make sure that we'll do our annual audits. We will make sure that they are paying what they're supposed to be paying, when they're supposed to be paying it. And we'll also make sure that they're abiding by all of everything that they've agreed to in the pilot agreement. One of the things that is, you know, I tell people all the time from a local perspective, the reason I typically suggest pilots, utilizing a pilot as opposed to something like the ITIP, is it keeps control here locally. It keeps control in DeSoto Parish. If they're violating one of the things that they agree to in this pilot agreement lease, then you have the ability to drive by and you can see it. So any one of you can say, look, they're not doing something they're supposed to be doing. And you let us know, and we can provide them 30 days notice. They have 30 days notice to fix it. If they don't, then we can start the proceeding to void their lease, and all of a sudden they're paying full taxes. So you actually have the ability to really have local control, local influence over that. And it's something too, as we're working through the process, that we won't do anything without your approval. At the end of the day, The law requires us to get a resolution from you approving what the pilot terms are. That's what we will do. Typically, or as a policy of the Finance Authority, we do what you want to do. We're here to facilitate. So if you want to give them, 95% abatement or 5% abatement, that's not, we don't get into that. We don't get into all those things. You tell us what you want to do based on your negotiations with the company, as long as it meets Louisiana's legal constitutional requirements for incentives, then we approve it. And then we manage it, maintain it, and we keep that money for you, for economic development. I think that's, I don't know if there's any, and I'm happy to answer any questions that you have as well.
And well, before we open up for questions, just in conclusion, want to make sure that, we reiterate that we hear you and we understand the mistakes that were made early on, and we want to rectify that. I believe that having local control is of the utmost importance to this community. And even in our conversations beyond this, we will continue to work with the Sheriff's Office, with the school board, with all taxing authorities to make sure that they're on board with this. Because ultimately, we want to move this project forward. We want to move it forward in this community, and we want to make sure that this community is involved and benefits ultimately from this large capital investment. So thank you for your time today, and any questions you have, please feel free to open up.
I have a question. What was your response with the sheriff and the school board? You said you done met with them?
Yes, sir. I think it was positive. I don't want to oversell it, but I believe that we presented a very honest picture of this financing structure. They were very receptive. That's part of the reason we're here today. I think this is the first step in moving that ball forward. Independent of each taxing authority, we will go to those taxing authorities and seek those permissions. I think there was general buy-in to this idea, and we presented real numbers. This is probably my first time appearing before this full body. I know some of you, but ultimately, I don't ever hide the ball. I'm probably a terrible negotiator because I tell you what I have on the front end. And we took a very honest look at the project costs, the interest rates, and what it meant to build this facility to the team, and we gave real numbers. We didn't fluff it. We didn't try to get more for less. We told you at 65%, this is a number that we work with and believe allows this project to move forward. On top of that, there's a sales tax benefit that you'll receive, which all the other agencies will receive a portion of too. I think you've got the full scope and the localized scope as well.
So does every taxing authority have to approve this?
For the purposes of the pilot, under technical terms, no, it would be the police jury. But what we think is prudent to do is to have that authority, and what I've done in Caddo Parish, I did a very similar structure, is we got letters of support and letters of no objection. And I think that made everyone feel comfortable, but one is not dependent on the other. That's the beauty of a pilot, is it is a negotiated agreement between the authorities.
Finish?
I'm finished.
You mentioned Caddo. What, you don't have to talk about the actual business, but what parameters were involved in the one in Caddo?
Sure, it's public. I mean, we're
specifically jobs.
So again, these are not huge job creators. What they are is they're energy providers, they're utilities for us. I think the outfall benefit, and the same thing, I had a very similar discussion in Caddo Parish and at the state level. One of the things that we have to think of as communities in growing economic development is our power capacity. The first thing that any large provider, manufacturing, distribution, or otherwise, looks at is your power capabilities. And quite frankly, many of these large employers throughout the country are looking at what is your renewable footprint. And so this is part of that puzzle. And again, this is not just a rates conversation, but rates are important. This helps to help set rates. So even though the job number may not be enormous, the capital investment number is. And the footprint and imprint that it has on your community as a renewable source of energy and the need from CLECO is really the economic development draw that should encourage these types of communities, our communities, to participate in these types of incentive programs. Because quite frankly, and I said this at the state legislature, these are the tools we have to bring in large business and large investment. This portfolio is a very large portfolio with other arms, right? And so it doesn't just bring the energy side of it. There are other portions and aspects of this company that will look at how are we doing business as communities with out-of-state businesses and bringing in new dollars and tax revenues.
So how many, and you might be the only one that knows this answer, how many CLECO customers are in DeSoto Parish?
I believe CLECO's total Their total service territory is somewhere in the ballpark, I want to say, of 290 to 300,000 customers.
In DeSoto Parish.
Yeah.
No. That's the total. In DeSoto Parish, I believe it's a lesser amount because I believe
much
North DeSoto Parish.
how
So
much
actually,
less?
if you were to
God, I know
look
the
at,
answer.
if you were to look at, so I'm trying to derive the exact number. Because
And
if
it
you
doesn't
look
have
at-
to be exact.
No, I know, because if you look at actually where the Dole Hills Lignite facility is, the substation next to it, there are 2 bus bars there. One of them goes to SPP, which is the SWEPCO area of DeSoto Parish, which is probably, I would say 70% of the service territory, or of DeSoto Parish is served by SWEPCO, and the other 30% is served by CLECO. Now, is this electricity going to be servicing just CLECO members or CLECO customers? No. This is being transmitted into the MISO transmission grid. That's very different. MISO governs the entire state, or it goes over pretty much the entire state of Louisiana. And so imagine putting a drop in the ocean. We don't know where those molecules of H2O go, as they disperse throughout the ocean, so it's kind of the same thing. Now, is CLECO are they purchasing the power? Yes, they are purchasing the power, but that does not technically mean that the individual electrons are traveling to only to CLECO customers.
Well, and what I'm trying to get to, and you were here the last time, it's still the same thing I'm trying to get to now. What I was trying to get to then is I've met with the president of SWEPCO, and he has not asked or entertained or tried to persuade us to do this. Matter of fact, he says they have their own in Caddo Parish that they did. So I'm not saying that, they're a big company, but I'm not saying that they're not going to buy any of the power that's generated from this. But you'd think if he was going to benefit from it, or, forward-looking maybe benefit from it, that he would ask for us to do this.
Well-
So I'm trying to explain in my mind and to my constituents why we would forego a huge potential revenue stream from taxes when it's not benefiting, as I just said the last time, 50% or more of the parish.
Right, so I can answer this, because I spoke with Bill as well. And,
And it was
What-
Bill and Malcolm, two presidents.
Malcolm's for SWEPCO though, correct?
Yes.
Yeah. I spoke with Bill Conway as well. He's the Chief Development Officer and lead head of compliance for CLECO. And really, and you can actually see this in the recent LPSC meeting that SWEPCO had, in which they put forward a lot of BTAs or buyer transfer agreements, or build transfer agreements rather, where they were proposing that a developer comes in, they build a solar project, that is then transferred for a very large sum to, in that case, SWEPCO, and then they make their regulated equity return of 6% or 8%, whatever it is per the utility. And that ultimately actually causes power prices to increase. And so what we're proposing is not a BTA. We're proposing a PPA. And as part of this actually helps us keep power prices low, right? And so while that may impact the CLECO territory, which I see the point of, okay, the CLECO territory that is the constituents within DeSoto Parish may be smaller, we're still talking about a decreased level of power, a decreased power price. And we're able to keep that power price low as a result of this abatement. So not only does this impact the power price, it impacts the viability of the project. And while I understand that there is a forgiving of a certain level of a revenue stream, we're also talking about $100 million coming into the parish over the next 30 years. $100 to $104 million, depending on what we're looking at. And so, that's a serious sum, as well as, we've spoke with the sheriff and, and the police, and the school district with high six-figure, discussions on, local community benefit that we can supply as well. And so, like I said earlier, that's everything from roads being paved, new soccer nets, new football field, whatever it is. We want to help and we want to step in, but really, that comes from you all. You guys know this community better than anybody.
Oh, I just want to say, where I live, one side of the street is CLECO.
Yep.
Behind me at the Votech is CLECO. We on SWEPCO. My electric be off at least 5 times a month. SWEPCO need all the help they can get. I got a little shop down the street that's on CLECO. I have to leave my home and go stay. I wish that I'm trying to have some new electricity turned on in Pelican right now, and I just told SWEPCO I wished I could use CLECO. So whatever CLECO got going, I'm down with y'all. Because I'm a SWEPCO customer, and I'm telling you.
Look, if it's worth anything, if it's worth anything, the Dole Hills Lignite facility was somewhere in the ballpark of 790 megawatts, so more than double of what we're contemplating here. That was co-owned by Clico and SWEPCO. Like I mentioned earlier, there were 2 bus bars. One went to the Clico grid, one went to the SWEPCO grid. Because Clico filed for their generation interconnection rights, i.e. they basically kept the rights and said, we want to replace our share of the lignite facility with this solar project. I spoke with Malcolm. They have not. And we have filed for an interconnection on that side of the grid. And that is, we hope, within DeSoto Parish. Now, there's a line, a 340 kV line that runs from that substation to Southwest Shreveport, and that's where we're looking to interconnect. And that's pretty much all DeSoto Parish up until like right just south of Shreveport, then that's when you hit Caddo. So we're looking at both sides of this grid, and we're trying to make a long-term play and create a lasting relationship here.
And can I just want to say one thing to you, sir, is, and I think it's a little bit of strategy, but I think that the utilities, the AEPs and the SWEPCOs, and I've worked these deals on both sides here and in Caddo. I've noticed that they are a bit standoff on letting this part of the process play out. I believe, and I don't want to speak for them, that they are keenly interested in what's happening, but very timid about speaking one way or another, because they want you, the body, to make the financing decisions best in your best interest. And we're making our case to you from the developer of these are real numbers that materially impact the outcomes of this project. And so I believe that they've kind of taken the position that it is a one-to-one conversation that should be held in public, which we're doing. And so to your point, I understand, but I'm happy to stand here. We've done it, you know, in Caddo, in Baton Rouge, at the table with the developer.
Well, and the only stance I'm taking is if I'm going to give this company a tax break, then why not give the companies that are in the room or the companies that are in my district or in these guys' district, why not give them the tax break? Why should I continue to tax people that are here, that employ a lot of people here, pay a lot of people to work here, pay a lot of people, and those people stay and live here? Why should I tax them full price, but give somebody that's going to create 3 to 5 jobs? I don't care if you're spending $100 million or $500 billion. It's not going to help me if I'm giving you a tax break on it all.
Well, I think that, you know, from a philosophical standpoint, there's two real answers to this. The first is that many of those businesses you described are likely eligible for some form of tax incentive, whether it be new market tax credits, whether it be historical tax credits, restoration tax abatement credits. There are programs out there. That's them to capitalize on those programs. But secondly, I think when you're talking about the level of capital investment and the impact, the utility impact, the global impact that this has on the community and surrounding area, both from the direct consumer, also to the outlier developer potentially, or the business potentially looking into our communities to develop, this is one of the best tools that we have. Again, you know, Louisiana, for better or worse, has a very limited scope of development tools in our quiver. And so until the state gives me better tools to work with, you know, this is what we have. But ultimately, you're looking at the size and scope of this investment. And again, I encourage any of those businesses, look at your tax profiles and see what you're eligible for, because there are incentives out there for them. It is on them, incumbent upon them, to hire good guys like Mike to figure it out, you know, and I make a joke, make light of it, but ultimately there are lawyers out there, that's exclusively what they do. And so I don't like, let me not say I don't like, because that's not my place. I shy away from the idea of punishing a company for taking advantage or trying to benefit from those incentives that are available to it, especially when they're making this level of capital investment and also outwardly stating that they're willing to participate in other philanthropic efforts throughout the community.
I mean, not necessarily a tax break, but it's businesses that gets breaks. Or I can name one, just got a big break and was getting it for years. And that's the bank that we was using that wasn't paying us a good interest rate. That's a break. That's a big break.
And I would venture to say that you're likely going to see, and I'm confident I won't eat these words, but there are developers and companies looking at what DeSoto Parish does, just like they're looking at Caddo Parish and what they're doing. And I would venture to say that this will not be the last request for a pilot from a large manufacturer or developer who now knows that that's an opportunity within this community.
Well, and there's one on the, I mean, I serve on the board of NLEP. You were there for years before I was. There's not companies out there asking about renewable energy right now. Not coming through our door. There is another company that's about where this is at, in establishing the same type structure, but they're bringing over 100 jobs. And I mean, I can listen to that and say, man, that's gonna really inject a steroid into our parish. With this one, I mean, I don't even know your company. It's not, I don't have anything against your company. It's just the idea, and business is business.
And
But
I
you're bringing 3 to 5 people.
I get to sit on that board with you too, on NLEP, and I work with Justin Dixon very closely, talked to him today. I can tell you in Caddo, there are projects that are looking at our footprint. You know, it's, are there 100 right now? No. But will it, and I think if you watch the global and national trends, that is becoming a very important point for these site selection committees, these developers. So because it's not happening at this moment here, does not mean that it will not happen in the future. But again, you know, from a philosophical, we can have the philosophical conversation, and I completely understand on the jobs position. But again, when you scale this project and the utility impact it has, as well as the capital and investment, I think it is extremely worthy of consideration for this type of negotiated discussion.
Yes, sir. Company.
Yes, sir.
This is a solar project. Now, the federal government's putting money into solar. Are y'all getting a grant from the federal
We're getting
government?
a credit.
You're getting a credit?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
We need new energy. We need, DeSoto Parish really need this. We can't keep lurking back behind. Or time's changing and we need to change with them.
I got one more question.
Yes, sir.
Y'all talking about putting back into the community.
Yes, sir.
How much are y'all talking about putting back in the community? You said like with the school board, the police jury, we have less taxation of any identity in the parish. So we're, you know, as they say in the country, we're sucking hind tit. And we have the less impacts on taxation in DeSoto Parish. And I feel like we have as much or maybe more responsibility as any identity in the parish. You understand what I'm talking about?
Yes, sir. So we had a meeting with Sheriff, with Mike, Lily, over a couple weeks ago. And one of the things that was floated around was the quotes for construction on the jail that y'all recently received. Heard they were quite high. And that is an area that we are looking to fill that funding gap. The proposal that I circulated to you all, if you notice that there is a current proposal and that there is a previous proposal, right? Now, the previous totals that you'll see there seem a lot more levelized, a lot more, you know, level loaded across the 10-year proposed pilot term. The other one is severely front-loaded. And that is for the incentive, that is to fill the funding gap for you all to build a new facility for the sheriff. And so that is a direct investment that we want to make into the community that would hopefully not just put a new building there, but also maybe indirectly add more jobs.
I got one question. You
Yes,
gonna
sir.
fill our funding gap or you gonna fill the sheriff's funding gap?
Well, that's the conversation that we're having, right? I mean, so far the conversation we've had is very high level. Hey, we're missing
It's our
X dollars.
funding gap.
Yeah, we're
You're talking
missing.
about 11 million, is that what you're referencing?
Yep. Yeah.
So it's 11, that's what's on your sheet,
Right.
Mr. Mitchell.
It's
I don't
$11 million upfront in year one. That would be
That's to everybody.
issued to everybody for the purposes of that facility. Do it FNTP, so do it start of construction. So and you know, I think other developers would come in and say, hey, we want to do this once the facility's operational. Sure, that's fine, but I think I understand that the precedent of timeliness on this changes things. So we want to make sure that that payment comes to you guys as early as possible.
And we've had other conversations too, related projects in the community. roads that are important to you, parks, things of that nature. And so, again, this is what we needed to happen today, which is having an open conversation about, we're not just a company that's asking for, we want to be a partner within the community. And so, I stressed this on our last project in Caddo, is that you're bringing a very large footprint of a company into your community that can help in a lot of areas that we may not even contemplate right now. And so, I think it's a very straightforward question, and that's right. But what James is saying is absolutely true, is that we don't want to just do it. We're not going to just do it because we have to. We want to do these kind of things.
If you get this plant up and running in DeSoto Parish, hypothetically, are you gonna look for other areas like Caddo, Bossier, Webster, Sabine, build another one? Cause this plant won't help.
No, we're looking also in DeSoto Parish, right? So that was about the piece about SWEPCO not filing for capacity interconnection rights. They didn't secure their replacement of what they shut off at the Dolly Hills Lignite facility. And so we would look to further invest in DeSoto. If there are other areas, Nacogdoches, Bossier, wherever, I mean, if there's land, we would take a look at it, but frankly, it comes down to the capacity of the grid.
I'm kinda like Mr. Kennington in one category, which is unusual. Is that
Maybe getting better.
yeah, maybe I'm getting better. Is I don't wanna give up all of DeSoto Parish's potential tax base, and all this stuff goes to Sabine, electricity goes everywhere else, and we don't really benefit from it. Which I'm like Ms. Burrell, we ought to benefit for the whole parish of DeSoto if we're gonna put this kind of capital investment in it. And if anything going south of 10, I'm gonna vote against it, cause they don't send nothing north.
Well, keep in mind, again, this is.
You're right.
We get
Yeah,
lost.
look at there. He's from down there too. He knows I'm right.
I'm not from down there, I'm from up here. I'm trying to bring it all back up here. I lived there for 3 years, I'm trying to bring it all back with me.
We get lost sometimes, and it is a very important part of the discussion of what is getting abated. But think about also what's getting received. I mean, you're activating a very static, unused facility right now, receiving a very large upfront capital investment, and
But before you finish, let me interrupt with this question. We have 3 electrical companies serving DeSoto Parish. We got Panola Harris, we got Clico, we got
I'm on Panola Harris.
Southwestern. So
Our
can you-
electricity's cheaper than y'all's. Panola Harris.
tie all them together.
No, I don't control the grid.
They high.
I wish I could. I wish I could say, hey, we're gonna build this project and it's gonna power, all 3 of those.
But will the
utilities.
availability be there if they decide to buy from you?
If the availability could be there, yeah, absolutely. Yeah, there's things called, virtual power purchase agreements that for example, that they could use. But I think that the real benefit is, creating that footprint that William's talking about, right? If we can establish a relationship now, we can start working through the Clico side, just because that is what is available to us first. I wish that we were working with SWEPCO. That would service more of this parish.
I wish y'all was.
Me too.
But we are taking every step possible in order to do so.
Well,
We're
go ahead,
not
Rep.
just
I'm
leaving
sorry
that
for interrupting.
capacity out
I
there
had to
being
make sure you
thrown
had all my points.
yes,
around.
sir.
Leave it alone.
Yes, sir.
Okay, so my question, that's quite all right. My question is that you've reached out to SWEPCO, but there's a piece of this area that they didn't, I guess, meet a deadline that you are possibly looking
We are looking.
to
Yep.
obtain,
Yes,
in addition to what
yes,
we have here.
correct.
So by doing that, that would include more of that 75%, well, no, because if they are not buying the power from
They
you,
would be buying the power from
they
us.
would be buying.
SWEPCO would be
So
buying
if you
the
take on that piece, then they would be buying that power.
power. Right.
Okay. Now to the capital investment piece of it, because that's where my mind, and I'm thinking about, okay, what we're gonna benefit from in the parish and the city. You stated something to the fact that once the money start building, that we have the say-so too, as far as where the capital investments, where we want to send the money or spend the money. Was I hearing that correctly?
So, yes and no. So I think I think I'll get to one point and then might hand it over to Mike for
Okay.
the other part. So I think what I was referring to was some developers would be inclined to push out that early installment payment,
That's-
that $11
okay.
million,
Okay.
out to when the system is actually turned on, not when we start construction.
Okay, I
And
got
just,
that part.
that is frankly just a matter of time value of money. We're just pushing money out, and that's better for us, worse for you. And what I'm offering as just an act of good faith is, well, we'll push that payment up closer so that when we start construction, you guys get paid. I think the other portion of it, in terms of the allocation of the funds and where things go, I don't know if there's a legal statute to that, how you guys allocate it, or if it is really discernible just to you all and you have all the discretionary power, that's a question for Mike.
What's that?
The way it would work is the 65%, or excuse me, the 35% that you would be collecting, that money would be collected. They would write a check to the tax assessor, or to the tax collector, excuse me.
Okay.
The tax collector would then get that amount of money and would distribute that to all the taxing entities based
Okay.
on the percentage that they would collect. So it's all
Okay.
split.
Okay.
Now, a lot of times what you typically see, and we do this, I mean, basically we're the entity people come to and we do this for a lot. A lot of times, and this is actually unique, and I didn't know this until he said it, typically what we do is we'll have an annual fee that they will pay over and above what their taxes are. That fee would go to this fund and would be held in this fund for you to be able to use. On a project this size, it would generally be around 100,000, maybe more. So don't quote me on the numbers on my calculator, but typically it'd be around 100, 150,000 a year. But it would be every year starting when the project became operational, and you would collect that. And so if, a lot of times we see communities that say, well, we need all the money up front, so then they'll go issue bonds, pay the interest on those bonds in order to be able to use it, so they have a lot extra cost. It sounds like what they're proposing to do is saying, instead of waiting and giving you a little bit every year, we'll give it all to you up front. We've honestly hadn't had somebody offer to do that yet, so that is a unique way that they are proposing to handle it. But that money, you would have full discretion over how it's used. That would be part of the agreement.
Yeah, and the number really came from that discussion with the sheriff, with Jason. And that was a discussion where he said, look, we have this huge funding gap. If you could find the money and you can shift the numbers around and make this work, that's a serious incentive for me to consider it. And so we did the math.
Who did this sheet? You, Michael?
Yeah.
You wanna
That sheet's based upon the information they provided to us in advance. It is not based upon what they just gave us tonight.
They're different,
Yes, they're different.
So do we not go by this?
so we can trash this?
We
No,
don't.
no, no, so think of it as two sides of the same coin. So what Mike has shown here, this is a regular vanilla 65% tax abatement that is levelized across a 10-year term, and that is just plain and simple, very similar to the ITEP structure that's, given through the state.
It reflects the police jury's portion only.
Correct.
It does not reflect all the entities.
Right.
Okay, explain our portion for the benefit of everybody.
Okay, under the first plan, you'll have an abatement for the first 10 years of $6.2 million for the police jury's portion. That's the total of 65% of the assessed value. And you will actually collect $3.3 million in property tax. I list years 11 through 20 just to show you that you get 100% at that point. Back at the 11th year, you start to collect 100% of your assessed values of the properties. And you would collect in that years 11 through 20, 6.8 million. Now, there is a years 21 through 30 that I didn't put on here, but you would collect that. That is in their binder as well. But over the total 20 years, the police juries, just the police jury would collect just over $12 million in property tax and sales tax. The sales tax abatement, excuse me, it's not an abatement, the sales tax collection is based upon their estimated contract price at roughly material cost 40% of that times just the police jury's tax rate of 1%, which is 1.7 million. So that is different because in the new one they gave y'all tonight, it shows an upfront payment of 11 million, and James, correct me if I'm wrong, that 11 million is not all the police jury's money. That's split between all agencies that are participating in this program.
Yeah.
And if it is split based upon percentage of collection, I just eyeballed that. The jury would only get about $1.5 million
Yeah.
of that 11 million. So,
That's a true point.
Most of
However,
it go to the school
given the beauty
board.
of a pilot, the discretion is up to
yeah, but you,
so where that funds are allocated, you're correct. If we were to go based on weighting and millage rate, absolutely right. Be about ballpark $1 million. But you know that number could go up and down based on the allocations.
but a concern that was raised in the meeting that we had by myself and the sheriff is, you know, the board that would administer this, and that would be the Northwest Louisiana Financing Authority. They would be administering that based upon the wishes of the locals. So who's on that board? Who controls that? So you're talking about, of 11 million, let's use the $11 million. Does that board have the authority to give $11 million to just the police jury or just the school board? You're talking an upfront tax abatement of our taxes to give it to another agency. And I would feel that the other agency would probably have a concern about that as well. So I want to point that out.
And we would appoint that board, correct?
No, well,
Go ahead.
so what would happen is we would sign a cooperative endeavor agreement that would, because the way that it works is only for any local public trust, which the finance authority is, the only authorization that they need to grant this abatement is either the police jury or the parish government, or if it's within a municipality, just the approval of the municipality's government. So if this was in, for instance, the city of Mansfield, the finance authority could get just the city of Mansfield's approval and abate all the taxes. Because it's inside the parish, it's not inside a municipality. Legally, the only entity that has the authority to approve it is this police jury. And as a result, this police jury would have the ability to determine how that money is divvied out, that 11 million or that extra money. This police jury would have 100% authority to determine that. And so we would enter into a cooperative endeavor agreement between you, the police jury, and the finance authority that basically says, you tell us what you want that money, how you want that money to be spent, and as long as it's legal, as long as it's constitutional, then we will release that money however you wish to do it. And so that's the only thing. And when I refer to the constitutional legal part of it, in Louisiana, in order to provide any kind of incentive, any kind of tax incentive, you have to show, there's got to be determination that the local government or the local community is gaining as much or more than what they're giving away. And you look at that from a variety of things when it comes to tax revenues that are generated. It can be jobs, it can be just community needs. I mean, it's a variety of things, but we've got to make sure that you're not just giving something away just to give it away. You have to be getting something of equal or greater value. And so as long as that's the case, then that money's released. We have, the finance authority has no desire whatsoever to determine how your money's spent. They're there just to give you the vehicle to do it, and so that you don't have to go below I-10 to Baton Rouge and ask Baton Rouge to do it. We thought it makes sense to have a North Louisiana entity that keeps the money here in North Louisiana.
Are there restrictions on the disbursements?
The only restrictions are in terms of it has to be for something that would benefit economic.
No, I mean like time, like he's saying that they would give it up front when you start construction, correct?
Yeah.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, the sooner we can disperse it back out, the better, actually.
So if he dispersed it, his company dispersed it on day one of construction, and day two, your company, your organization could disperse it all then?
Yes.
And I want to say this, but because we're I don't say making a record, a courtroom term, but because we're on the record, I want to be very clear too that it's very important to us as part of that CEA that we include the voices of the other taxing agencies. I mean, we believe that it's very critical to include those other agencies because they have been included on the front end of this discussion in the first place. So we want to be fair and very transparent with everyone that stands to benefit from this project.
I have a question. I gotta just make sure I just understood what you just said. Did you just say that the parish has the authority to do this and to accept, let's just say we wanted $11 million disbursement, and the other taxing authorities within the parish has no say?
Yes. From a, and
From a legal
From a legal
standpoint, so if we go and say we want $11 million, yeah, and we take that $11 million, the school board over there just lost $8 million. That ain't gonna happen without that school board coming in here and literally trying to kill every one of them. That's not gonna happen. There's a lot of people on the school board I don't like, but I don't really want them all not to like me. So,
You on record?
I don't see how that's gonna work.
So, Mr. Baker, let me say this too. I am not advocating that you do that.
But you
I'm
can
just
do.
telling you from the, what
got
the
the right to do
Constitution of Louisiana says you have the right to. I'm not saying that you should. I'm just saying you have the right to. Typically, what we see, our approach is, we're going to take the lead of the entity that's requesting it. Most people do say that they want to get the buy-in from all the taxing entities. So that's typically what you see. A lot of times, some of the other taxing entities will say, look, we're for the project because we see the benefit in increased tax revenues that we'll get even at an abated level, because right now we're not collecting as much. So we're for it. However, and I'm just being honest with you, someone's like, I really don't want to be on the record voting for it, but go ahead and do it. We're not objecting to it. Somebody say, look, we do want to take a vote on it. We want to make sure that everybody has the ability to have a public vote. We don't get into that. That's not our role. That's a local decision. That's a local thing. So I'm just telling you what is the legal requirements are. Not saying that that's necessarily, as my mama used to tell me, just because you can do it doesn't mean you should do it. So I appreciate that, but we're here not taking a position, just saying we are a quasi-government entity that is willing to provide a service if you need it and want it and choose to do it.
And we're not trying to do that. We want to, and I keep reemphasizing because it's very important for this entity to understand and know that we intend to do this for the other taxing agencies as well. This is not, it would be counterproductive for us to ask you to do that against the other agencies. We don't want that. We want to include.
Mr. President,
They gonna be.
Mr. President,
the tax
Mr. President.
smooth.
Yes, sir.
I'd like to say this, and it's not derogatory to any man. Every partnership I ever entered in was 50-50.
Understood.
Yeah.
50-50.
Yes, ma'am.
Oh, Dwayne, what 50 would you see us get? You just said that we get less than anybody. Anybody.
I'm not talking about the $11 million that we can get if we go through with this. I'm talking about 65-35, I'm talking about 50-50.
No, I'm talking about us gain control of this jury. I mean,
Of
the
what,
whole
Ms. Kim?
parish.
Of what?
Gaining control. Look, it's time for us to do something different. I keep telling y'all, time's changing, and it's time for us to, I want to see these people collect the taxes, really, honestly.
I'm not telling you, I'd just be more in our coffers.
Cause I can name some things that we ain't been getting 50-50. It just got swept under the rug, but we wasn't getting we wasn't even getting 30-40.
Well, no, I'm just talking about
I mean,
maybe our potential partnership with the
36.
company.
We wasn't we. Dwayne, come on now.
I don't think you're understanding what I'm saying.
receiving that, Coach Jackson?
We'll run the number. We can take into consideration. We'll
Yeah,
try and see if.
y'all need to take a look at
take a look.
something else.
Yeah, and Jerry Mitchell, if I say this, I understand where you're headed with that, and again, I reemphasize we gave a real number, but also keeping in mind that year 11,
Yeah.
that partnership goes all the other way, 100-0, so it's generally a very good incentive for us, but it is a very good capital investment benefit
I understand. It's a good thing for you all. Yeah.
for everyone, hopefully.
Yeah.
Wow, look.
$11 million, $11 million,
Yeah. Yeah, but
plus
you,
the remaining.
what did you just say? Mr. Michael, what's our portion of that?
Sorry, what was your?
What's our portion?
Our portion of the 11 million based on, if you allocate it based on percentage collected, it's about $1.5 million.
Yeah.
That's a rough number.
Yeah. And
Of
that's,
that 11 million.
50-50.
that's what Mr. Baker's saying, that's the way it had to be dispersed, because we gotta live in this parish.
You know, we still gonna live.
Exactly.
I'm just being honest, like I say, my thing, they've been getting taxes forever. Banks full of money now. Ours not.
Exactly.
And so I mean, this way, like I say, I have family that work. My wife is a retired school board person. My dad is a school board member, retired. So I'm not against that, but like I say, if this can help us, like I say, we send so much money down to the state every year. We don't keep. People think but like if there's an opportunity, the Lord bless us with some money, I won't turn my blessing down.
You know?
Exactly.
So that's me.
So, Ms. Fodor, you're
And
saying,
they-
you
but-
saying we're gonna keep that 11 million?
But
if we
listen,
get-
hear what I'm saying. Hear what I'm saying. The school board still gonna get the regular tax. If this business had never come, they still gonna get them taxes what they were gonna get. The sheriff department gonna still get those taxes they were gonna get. All the other, whatever, they will still receive those taxes that they will get if this company had never came here. So they're not really losing anything. No.
Sure ain't
Hey,
gaining.
I'm not being mean. I'm just being realistic too.
Oh, no, in reality, I agree with you, that making that happen would be.
I mean,
Yeah,
sometimes
because all of us ain't standing there with 50
it's
million
still
in
going to the
reserve.
parish. It's still taxes are being served to the people. So
Oh,
just remember
55.
what in this again.
All of us, we ain't standing there with 55 in reserve.
Thank you.
Michael, if your sheet you created right in the center on where it says year one, 362 and 673, you see where I'm at?
Yeah, probably that's someone they can lend us money.
362,553, 18, and then 6. So if we don't grant them this pilot and they do the project, you add those two together and that's what we get, correct? Year one.
Correct, yes, sir. That's the estimated, yes,
Correct. And it repeats itself year 2, year 3, year 4, all the way down.
correct.
If we do the pilot program, we get roughly year 1 added together.
Yes,
About
correct.
$1 million. But then we get 0 in year 2, year 3, year 4, year 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. Correct? Not 0, but
It's significantly reduced.
correct, a
That's-
third.
That's in their, yeah, it's a third, yes, sir.
Yeah.
Now, that $1 million, this is a workshop. This is meant to have conversations going forward, but based on, from what Mike is saying, is that disbursement of $11 million, yes, if we were to go based on just the millage rates, we were just based on
We'd have to.
disbursement. Right. Well, I mean, if it was to go that way, but legally, it could change, right? I mean, if there's more of an allotment that you guys need, or if there's an allotment that changes that a certain amount goes to the parish, certain amount goes to the sheriff, that number changes. I understand that, there is going to be some, and again, I'm not on the local politics and everything, but those discussions between
Well, that would be the same thing as me saying legally, you could just pay the taxes that you owe to do your solar
Right, and-
project.
And I could legally say that the ability for the project to exist dramatically dissipates. And then you have no $100 million revenue stream, and you have no $11 million coming to you at all.
And it's.
Sir,
so
would
the-
you mind pulling the microphone closer to you?
Sorry.
Some of it's a little hard to hear, and mainly me.
Sure. So, one thing to keep in mind on this is that that discussion with the sheriff, when we had Mr. Norton there and the superintendent, were all based on what is a community needs project. That's how we got into that conversation in the first place. That may change. What we're here today to try and address is, can we recenter and move this project forward? A critical component for us to move this project forward, for anyone in this community to benefit from this project, and not for it to be mothballed, is for us to have some level of incentive package. And so, again, I say this is a real number, and this is a discussion that helps bring everybody to the table in an open forum to try and figure out a solution. Today, it may not be that schedule we've presented, but what is a huge, I mean a huge step forward, the invention of Facebook step forward, is saying that there is room to discuss this. And that's where we are today. We're not gonna answer the schedule question. But if the police jury, and ultimately, because we have had those conversations with the sheriff and school board, and will continue to have those conversations, if there is desire to move forward under some limited arrangement as discussed here, that's progress, significant progress. And that's where we are today. Thank you.
Darren, go ahead.
I just want to ask one more, and then I'll,
Yes, sir.
I'll leave it alone. So on your sheet, year 1 through 10, that y'all just passed out today, the fourth column down, where it says 65% assessed value. You see where I'm at?
Yep.
And go across, and the first number's 42, and 41, and 40. That's the annual abatement amount, correct, for the entire parish?
That's the basis. That's the assessed amount.
No, that's the 65, 64.
Yeah,
That's the one
that's-
above it.
65, that's the 100% assessed value.
Yeah, the one below that where it says 42.
Yeah.
That's what we would be abating. No?
Yeah, no, I'm saying.
Yes,
that's
that would
correct.
be the 65%.
You're saying yes, he's shaking his head no.
That's the assessed value by which you calculate your millages on. You're not abating, I mean, you're abating the assessed
Oh,
value.
I understand the question.
The
Yeah.
taxes, what you're abating is below. That's what you're actually abating.
I wish you that instant when the bank was getting old.
So he's saying.
I mean,
he's
the answer to your question, Mr.
100,000 we're
Kennington, is
abating.
yes, you are abating that much of assessed value, but you're not abating that in the tax that you would collect.
Correct.
Can I ask you a question, Mike?
Yes, sir.
I just want to make sure I just understood what you said. If I take that $42 million, I multiply it by 15.8, that's going to give me that $121,000?
No, sir, because they have the $11 million in there, there's some,
Okay.
I didn't have, if you go to this,
Hey, whoa, go to
Okay.
this one then.
right,
So if you do it over on this one, you get 362,000. Did I just do that right? It'd be
Yes, sir.
15.8 times the 42
that's correct,
will give me the 362.
absolutely.
Okay, I know how you got your numbers now.
Help me. I don't.
And the calculation would actually be .01581, that's how they move, that's how they come up with the tax.
Right. And millage points, you got
Yeah.
carry them decimals around.
This is the workshop. Can I ask a question?
Yes, sir.
Again, just tell them again, once again, how you arrived at the $11 million. Where, let me just say that one more time so it can be plain. Yep. One more time, how you get the $11 million so it can be plain.
It was a discussion about a community need, and that was a methodology we used to try and address that community need in the most urgent fashion possible.
So I think just plain and simple, we heard that there was a budget for a jail. The RFP that was given out and the quotes that were received were $11 million higher than what was budgeted. And we're looking to fill that gap. And that was just I don't want to call it arbitrary number because it's not, because there's a precise example, but it is a number that was just derived in a methodology that says, okay, we have a comparable, we have something to work with here. And is this number enough for us to say, okay, we're back to the bargaining table, we're back to finding a place where maybe there is a discussion where we can move this forward? That's
That,
what we're trying
that
to get.
deficiency is not for all of those entities. That deficiency was just for 2.
When I'm asking, so that $1.7 million, whatever that you get every year, where is that coming from?
They were saying that would be the police jury share of the $11 million based on the millage rate.
You know, so 11 million is the total.
Yeah, 11 million is the total. 11 million is the total.
The 1 point something what the number would have got.
Police jury.
But by law, if they would decide, if they get together and say, okay, we understand we should get this percentage, that percentage, we still agree this is more important than that percentage because of the power, right?
Yep.
They could agree, the school board can say, we need this, we understand you need this. The sheriff, I need this, police juries, I mean, if everybody's, okay, we know what normally we do is this percentage, right?
Yeah.
But this is what we really need in the community.
Well, correct me if I'm wrong, but we could do something where it's, I don't know, random numbers, where if police jury says we need 33%, the school board says we need 33%, sheriff says we need 33% of that $11 million, it can be divvied up in that manner. And so, but, you know, again, that is a matter of getting all of those folks on board. To William's point, That means, negotiating those commercial terms amongst all the parties, finding letters of, or getting letters of no objection, or, letters of agreement that basically say, yes, we, all the taxing authorities here, agree that this allocation of funds as is acceptable to us, and we can move forward with the pilot. But again, this is a workshop, this is for discussion. We want to find a place where we can bridge the gap and say, okay, if it's the jobs number, what level do we start having that conversation where that looks agreeable to y'all? And we can have that back and forth, and it's an endeavor where we're mutually beneficial. So, just looking to get back to the table and have more discussion.
I don't think that third deal is gonna work out.
Just, I'm throwing it out there.
Do you, Mr. Mayor?
I don't know,
This is
I
what
would
the
say, can I just say this, but I would, and I think you
This
came
one
to the
is
meeting,
what
I was at the meeting when Mr. Menard was there, and the school board.
Take
and
the $11
sheriff,
million
I
out of
think.
the picture.
Ross, did you make that?
No, I didn't
Give
decision?
them
But
the
everybody was represented there at the meeting. I
the
just-
65%.
I think one thing was brought out, you whether or not get anything, or some.
The school
something.
board
Because right now, you're
in
not
a
getting
10-year
I
period.
understand.
And you think about it,
Collect
Clico
$11
came
million.
in, they got an exemption for 10 years. Zero.
They give us
Yeah.
11 million.
Zero.
Take the whole 11
Yeah.
million.
That's right.
Police jury.
Yeah, and
Business came in, they got zero.
also the paper mill.
Zero. This company's bringing renewable energy, which is out, and
You
you
take the
can read
4
all
from
the
the
stuff,
12
renewable
and you-
energy is something that's really,
You
they're
think the
looking
school
for
board's
in their
gonna give
portfolio.
us
They
$8
may not talk to you
million?
about it, but when they get ready to do their business
Coming
model,
in here and raising the
renewable
whole
energy is on part of that
down
model.
and screaming?
On businesses. So, we got renewable energy, they're looking, our place is more
The school
attractive.
board has gotten all
And
this
so,
money.
I
Because
want to say
me
that
and
I'm a
you keep
proponent because it's
approving
gonna
the
help
taxes.
everybody.
So that's why they
Especially
get
that
the money.
upfront
It's
money.
not the school board's fault they got the money.
And I would dare turn down this
Because we
project
keep
because, we're
bringing
saying
in
that
their
other
taxes.
taxpayers paying it.
Yes,
Why we
the
get them a
school
break, why
board
don't we
is
get a break?
the
We gave them a break
lawyer.
because we want their business to come in.
They
We know in the long run, it's gonna be better for
School
all of
board
us.
is needed
It's gonna be a
just
good
as
deal
much
for all of us. Year 11, guess what?
police jury.
Boom. Here we are.
So,
A new business, and look at all these taxes.
I just,
Another tier now. And if these companies that come in, we got more energy, more electricity to provide. Cause Clico down 300 something megawatts right now because of that plant that I worked at for 31 years. They're down 300 and some megawatts that they had going out of that plant for their customers. It's gonna be cheaper, it's gonna keep the costs down for our customers. Because MISO not only cover Louisiana, it cover a whole lot more states, a big conglomerate of electric companies. They serve many states. We joined that to be more competitive. There are a lot of other power companies within MISO, gas companies, and that make their power, make their bills lower. This would even make it even better. It'd be another diverse energy they have to remain competitive. SWEPCO stays down a lot, have a lot of customers, but they're off a lot.
Joey.
In the spring. They gotta look at bringing on more power. They lost 300 of 400 megawatts out there. And I don't know where they pick it up, Mr. Kennison, but they lost almost 400 megawatts at that plant. Where they gonna pick it up from? So that's a need to get them back on the grid for us, to have more opportunity for our customers, and have more opportunity to get the lower cost and better provide. And so, I would rather get something for this parish than just sit here and keep on walking on it and not get anything. Right now, we talked about it in November. If we'd have started, we'd be getting some tax dollars in now, but we said no. I understand that model. This model is a better model, and I think in the room, if we look at it, we're getting a benefit. Our parish, our people getting a benefit. I know we're not be a lot of jobs, but you're still getting taxes. It's gonna be taxes coming in. Whether it's people's jobs or not, it's still money for your parish. Some companies that don't require, those kind of facilities not gonna require a lot of people. We're gonna have more of them coming up, but they're gonna put more taxes in your tax base.
Thank you.
It's also gonna help your community, cause you got more money in your tax base, you're gonna be able to do more things for your people. But since November, we just said no, we shut down. Now we in July. I would hate to see us get kicked down the road another month or two when we get money start coming in once you start construction.
Sir.
I mean, I'm familiar with it, but I know with Clico has a need. I worked there for all those years. They have a need for power.
I don't know if y'all mentioned, I'm a little hard of hearing too, so, but the 11 million, where did they come up with that figure from? I don't know if y'all stated, if not, Alex, I
Yeah,
didn't.
they did.
That's a
And so they just
shortfall.
It was just a discussion with the sheriff and the school board and Mr. Norton in the room about a funding gap that was needed to be filled.
I guess, okay, now, so is it possible that, like I said, you received not because you asked not. Is it possible that, and I'm not trying to be greedy, I'm not trying to be ungrateful or unthankful. Could that be raised up? And then, like I say, they could get, we still get the portion we need to take care of the citizens of the parish and the others. You know, everybody have a, like I said, I know y'all in the business to make money. That's what all companies are in business to make money. And like I say, that's a need we have. We said we need more money to stay with the police jury where we can disperse it among the community versus the others that are receiving larger tax funds.
Exactly.
And so, I mean, if you could just increase that up a little bit, like again, you receive non-contract. Now, if you can increase that up a little bit more, then we'll be able to disperse a little bit more of them, but we still keep a larger, because at the end of the day, we take care more than the school board, than the sheriff.
Exactly.
When I take care of the responsibilities, I'm saying, I'm not negating what they do, but we take care more. And it requires more money, but we have less coming in for what we have to spend out. So I'm just asking, you know.
My thing is, if the school board, the sheriff's office, and all that, they know these people don't need no money. They still got their tax base. We stuck with the sheriff's office, that tax from now on, unless somebody contest it. We stuck with that tax. School board, they constantly are renewing their taxes. Us, we not. So we better start trying to cover our own self and get money to however we can get it, because you need that money. Now, y'all been talking about this new jail this whole time. God to bless you with the opportunity. What we waiting on. And then the school board should have no problem, and the sheriff department either, because they have been getting these taxes and getting this money for years. They setting up on millions and millions and millions of dollars in reserves. And who is suffer is our people.
And just one thing, and again, I'm not here to make policy.
I understand.
But I just want to kind of give you some background. You know, one of the things that we've seen some parishes do is basically say, look, we're going to put together an economic development board that has a representative from all your taxing entities. You just do that through a CEA, and basically that group of people meets. And a lot of times, just superintendent, the sheriff, the parish administrator, whomever, and they say, look, this is a project that we think will be beneficial to all of us, you know. And so, for instance, we're going to take this money and we're going to go develop a mega site so that we can bring in a company that is going to have 400 jobs. I mean, it's that helps everybody. And so, point being, I want to encourage you not to necessarily think about this as a bunch of tax entities fighting. We've got a lot of different communities where they bring all the parties together and say, look, you know, we've got an opportunity to have a lump sum of money to do something quickly that will be beneficial for our schools, for our public safety, for our municipalities, for our parish. And so there's a lot of different things you can do to it. So I just didn't want you to think that that your only option is to say, well, you know, we're going to fight against entities. You could come up with something that would be for economic development that would benefit everybody.
No, but a lot of parishes are not blessed like DeSoto Parish are. I'm talking about they're some of the entities. So that's why I say there might be, you know, better for other parishes, you know, they come up with those incentives, but, you know, like she just said, our sheriff's department, they blessed. The school board, they blessed.
Mm-hmm.
And so, you know, and now it's time for us to be blessed.
No, sir, and I'm not saying that, I guess my point is that you might have a situation where it might be good for everybody.
Yes, I agree.
A new jail. I mean, it might be helpful for, I don't know, I'm just saying that just because one entity is getting the money doesn't mean that every entity is not benefiting.
And I'm not saying, I'm not saying don't give them anything, no, I'm not saying that. But again, I understand, I appreciate what you're saying, but, you know, that's my thing, like I said.
Oh, absolutely.
I mean, share, I have no problem with sharing. But like I say, if, we're the governing official for the parish, so we help everybody.
Yep.
So everybody will benefit from whatever we do. So, you know, that's the way I look at it. You know, not just school board, everybody will benefit from whatever we do.
And quite honestly, if the state would let you keep your severance tax revenue that you generate up here, we wouldn't even be having this discussion.
Right.
So it may be helpful, oh, I'm sorry. I was gonna say, it may be helpful for you all to help understand next steps for us. And I would think the most appropriate next steps for us would be to propose language to the sheriff, to you, this body first, as well as the sheriff and school board and other taxing agencies about how these distributions can occur and the impact it has on each of their representative bodies. Because what I'd like to hear, and I'm hoping that I'm not just fabricating this, is that we are in a position to move the ball forward. At some level, to at least propose, beyond this workshop, a resolution and proposed CEA that could potentially be worked towards for approval.
Yeah, that's what I was about to get to at the end. I was letting everybody put their thoughts out and feelings out. And what we would like to do is let this marinate on us overnight. And hopefully we can put it back on next month's agenda. That way we all discuss it out, whatever contacts y'all need with these guys. Other questions, I encourage you to feel free to ask. And we'll come back here and put it on the agenda for a vote.
And that gives them time to think about that extra, you know, going to that 15,000, 16,000. That gives them
You
time.
saying for the August meeting, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Other thing, oh, sorry, go ahead, sir.
And on the other hand, as far as, I know every opportunity to come to this parish, we want to raise jobs. But we got to think about, we do have another company coming in that will provide 200 to 300 jobs. So we pretty much got that covered. Go ahead,
The
sir.
only other thing I was gonna mention is, you know, we've heard ideas from the sheriff, obviously, with this jail. We've heard in passing from other jurisdictions about, you know, College and Career Center. If y'all have ideas, roads that need paving, you know, fences that need mending, parks that need to be built, I
Yes, sir.
don't know.
Yes.
Yes, sir.
But I wanna know.
Yeah, we got we
Yes.
got 640 miles of roads that need paved.
Yes.
Pocketbook's not
Bring my
Yes,
mic down.
But
Yes.
seriously, I
Dwayne,
just
you
wanna
can
say,
say that
please,
'cause
come
you
with
can
ideas.
Can we bring our project?
And another thing, if this project do proceed forward,
We
that,
gonna send over here.
we do have a road ordinance that I know y'all be hauling heavy loads, and we have to make sure to keep that part of the road
Yeah,
up.
of course.
Okay.
I know you also noticed that there's curb cut permits, highway permits, like there's
Yes.
a whole list of
Right.
non-discretionary permits we need to fill out, and that's almost goes without saying, but yes, we will absolutely be following those.
So any more-
I have a question, if I could ask
Yes,
them
sir.
a question. So what is the possibility of moving that from a 65% exemption to a 45% exemption?
Well, that's the kind of discussion we're hoping to have, and that's the workshop, right? So we're gonna go back, we're gonna look at numbers, you know, he was talking about, you know, Mr. Mitchell's talking about 50/50, you're talking about 45,
We
you know,
got to
does
make,
55 do anything, right? That's the kind of, you know, let's work the numbers, see how this goes back and forth. So, but that sort of discussion, like what Mr. Fuller was saying, Mr. Mitchell saying, what you're asking is, okay, are there ways that we can massage the numbers to make this a little bit more appealing? Right? I think I mentioned this to you in the meeting, which was when we had first come for ITEP and you looked at, you said 80% tax abatement, 3 jobs, 5 jobs, 10 jobs. That's just not worth it. Personally, I agree, but also I wouldn't be doing my job if I didn't apply for it. So I applied. And now we're at a point where we can color outside the lines. We can mold this into what we want. And we can say, okay, 10 permanent jobs. What does that look like in order to really guarantee this project happening? What incentive do we want to put on that? And that's a conversation we're open to have. So this is a real offer. These are real numbers, and we can try and massage them, and we can try and see what we can do. And so we'll try and come back to the next meeting with more proposals. We'll get them to you early.
Send me the spreadsheet so I can massage it for you, too.
Okay. But I know you're gonna put like 100, or, you know, 100 and 0.
Well, for this body, they have to make a decision on what they want to do, and if they're all comfortable, if they're all warm and fuzzy with the 65%, they're gonna communicate that to me. If they want a smaller number, they're gonna communicate that to me. That's
Absolutely.
well, we want it to be worth their while, though.
Yeah.
I mean, we ain't gonna ask these people to do something for absolutely nothing, that, they're, Come on, let's be realistic about it.
So Michael, can we run this through committee?
Absolutely.
First, do your adjustments, bring your adjustments through the committee, and let's leave it out of
If I
committee.
have their worksheets, I don't have their worksheets.
Okay.
I typed up myself,
Okay.
but if you get me those worksheets, I mean, I can do that.
Not much hiding there.
With all the different proposals that, that we're trying to reach out to come to agreement with.
Sure.
Let it run through committee first, and then we get out of committee. The way we be focused on one thing when it comes out, if it comes out of committee.
So, Mr. President, can we work towards general terms in that committee? That way, I think if we have that agreement, we can begin drafting to help.
Correct, yeah,
Yeah.
correct.
Yes, sir.
Because we will want you to have it if you leave out of committee for the next meeting. You need to have everything in place.
Yes, sir.
And last, I just want to address, you brought up the instance of us forming a board that has representatives from each of the governing bodies.
Yes.
That is probably something you want to do here in DeSoto Parish. That's what I'm recommending based upon the money that you're willing to put up. That's just my recommendation. That doesn't carry any water. This group has to make that decision. Because they, from what I was communicated, the jury is the one who appoints those members, right? So we would appoint a member from the school board. We would appoint a member from the sheriff's department. We would appoint a member from all the entities, correct?
Not,
It really comes down, and you have the full flexibility to do that. So you could say that we're gonna put this board together, and we're gonna ask each entity to send somebody, you could pick them. I mean, it really all is up to you, and so it really just kind of comes down to what you feel like is the most appropriate for your community.
We won't take
can I put one caveat on that?
Community need to be involved, let me tell you.
Yes.
Not-
One caveat on that is
Sheriff.
absolutely, but from a construction and operations position,
Exactly.
what I think we're interested at Desiree's side would be, what's the number? And that number can be deposited however we need to structure it, because what I don't want to happen is that we spend 5 months with that EDC trying to figure out what it wants to do with the money. We want to know what's the number, we hand it off, and we want to move our project forward.
It's up to your
And
discretion.
that's standard. I mean, the standard thing is.
Well, that's if there's an upfront, that's if there's an upfront.
Or whatever that
allocation.
number may be.
I mean, if there's no upfront allocation, which, based upon what y'all sent us, there was no upfront allocation in this initial one. This is just a 65% abatement. This one has an $11 million, I mean, which seemingly could complicate some things if you're appointing some people to a board, but.
But the construction of the board, so long as it's legal and complies with guidelines, discretion of the utilization of the fund is up to the jury, it's up to you. So it's us to provide the funds for you guys to do that.
Yes, sir.
I'll say this, I've been away from the jury now about a year, but you guys need to realize, y'all carry the big stick. I hear you say you're concerned, but in fact, you make the decision. You can get buy-in, but you make the decision on this deal.
All right.
And so
Right.
what I'm saying
100%.
is, you make a decision whether to move this thing forward or not. Am I correct?
Yes.
You make the decision, so let's not keep on letting people, I'm afraid.
Pulling them.
I'm afraid with I'm afraid with school board, but they're asking to move a project forward. That's all they're asking, and then we saying, I think I heard them say 65, 35 was kind of where they can operate. I mean, if they went back and looked at the numbers, this kind of what they landed on, how they can, and now we saying, let's go back and look at it again, and get it down to 45.
No.
Can you get it down to 50? At some point, you gotta move it forward. Because the time is money. November to now, you hadn't gained any money. You could've had money already in the bank. Still kicking around, but we're losing out because we don't wanna make that decision. You make the decision.
That's right.
They don't make decisions for like you.
Pen, Richard.
Sheriff, he got, he get taxes, but he doesn't make decisions for the parish. In fact, that's your building. When you build a building, it's gonna be your building anyway. If you build a building, it's your building.
Thank you.
We let those guys, make us second guess ourselves on what we do. We should make a decision for the parish. That's the problem now. And I hate to say it, we just make ourselves look small. If we push it around, concerned about what they're gonna say. Work with the numbers you got, go talk to them, and then what they're trying to do is get your numbers so they can move on with all the project. They can put the money in the bank and they can go about their business, you do what you gotta do.
Correct.
I wanna see it move forward, but I have a vested, because my thing is this. Our people are struggling. We have opportunity to land jobs here in the city of Mansfield, good. They're gonna need good quality electricity. They're gonna need, and that's CLECO. That's CLECO territory if they land that facility over there. That's gonna be money coming in what?
Yep.
Right.
So we're gonna bring these jobs and open up a company there. We need good electricity, good quality electricity. This is a good project. To be a part of CLECO.
Everything moving to solar anyway.
So we wanna keep kicking it down the road, just saying, I encourage you guys, make a step and be the jury, you're supposed to be. You make the decision. I'm gonna make sure we cooperate and participate with each other. You make the decision.
Right. Okay, if there's no more question, we'll very kindly appreciate y'all guys
Thank you.
coming.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you so much for your time.
And the questions.
Thank you.
And you will
Make sure y'all
be
sign
hearing
that.
from Mr. Norton.
You keep my list to sign so they can sign? Yeah, they didn't sign.
Oh, yes.
You want to recess? Oh.
Thinking what you're not.
Okay, we're gonna take a 10-minute break for restroom before we go to the next item.
I just texted you, James.
We're gonna benefit on that. No lose.
They got you in the caravan?
What man? What's in there?
Gonna go through this compensation stuff?
Yeah, I don't know. I gotta go.
I'm not gonna ever get it.
That's me.
I gotta go. Look at it.
You finna go?
I gotta bake his fall school.
Oh, well, just, I agree. I agree. So, okay, so it's gonna
extra
come up
meeting
in.
here, so I get my 2 minutes.
Oh, Lord.
But that's what
Yeah, I agree. I agree.
I'll send you all my contact information. I'll be reprinting all my.
Find them, we try, there's no need to milk them.
increase.
Oh, the Lubbock Meeting came from, because they said that's where we were in the hole for the jail. But I'm all for the jail, but, wait a minute, I'm all for the jail. But the jail is more easy. I'm looking at what it's gonna be for the now, okay, like you said, you look at that 11 million because that's what sheriff that we won't be able to hold, that we need to spend to get the jail. I don't know why. I'm like, maybe let's see if we can find it. That's what I'm saying. Because that was just the number that they were out. So my thing is, okay, yeah, you play around with that number, that 11 million. That's just give you the ball. We can get it up a little bit further. The money, that's my part of it. And I'm all for it. I'm gonna say yes. Because I feel like it's gonna benefit the DeSoto Parish. And I know people are trying to sue. I'm with but my sister, you're losing money. You're losing your groceries, and they know how to replace it in here. My parents was out for a whole week. My mom got sick.
Overall. Let me check them for. I'm gonna get on that. I gotta Appreciate you. Thank you. Shoot, thank you so much.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Appreciate your questions. Thank you.
You got one with vision? I'd like to think so. Yeah. It's just because there's a hearing is tomorrow.
How much longer, Doug? What all we got left? A lot.
So the vote we're finna discuss now, how long is that?
However long y'all want to talk.
I got a workshop tomorrow.
I'm just saying, y'all.
Oh my Lord. I ain't gonna ever get to the house. I'm about to go in there and get a Twinkie. And I don't need a Twinkie. I don't need that Twinkie. But I'm about to go get that Twinkie. I'm so ready, and I'm cold too.
Provide a service so that you don't have to go to bathroom.
Oh, hey, I'm on board with that.
I'll tell you, they weren't sure what they wanted to do. You create an ID bank. We don't care which one. But most communities say, we just don't want to.
I am all.
We can maintain all the authority, maintain all the money, without having to deal with all the bureaucracy. How you doing, Mike? It's just a resource.
It's gonna be up to them.
Yeah.
Okay.
We are agnostic when it comes to provide a service.
Morning, all day.
Chance spoke very highly of you.
How you doing? I'm gonna have to go back here and get this Twinkie.
Well, man, let her know I didn't I somewhat lived up to expectations.
Oh, God.
Way to go.
How you doing today? You made a good point. It's like you
I need some Denter.
What you think? Is it kind of cut and dry to you? Nothing? Absolutely nothing. Give me the little nigga, we'll talk.
Yeah, but when are they gonna do it?
Give it to me out now.
Supposed to be out now. Guess I can get out ASAP.
Somebody just said
On the board side, yeah.
It's just one of them. What do you think we did? We did our part in terms of.
3-2.
Which kind? I thought we were done.
They may not have to.
I thought we were done.
Give me the little nigga. We can argue about it. Hey, give me 11 million, we'll argue about it later.
I know that, right?
We can take an argue about it. Give us 11 million, y'all gonna be in your project, we'll get in the room, we'll argue about it. At the end of the day, you'll make decisions, we'll make decisions.
Exactly.
They already talk. School, I said to meet up in the library for them. We big met in the library. Michael Morton, your brother is supposed to be there. Sheriff was there. Sheriff, Michael Norton, Superintendent was there, Cody Johnson was there. They were all coming in. They didn't talk about what you said. They just said there'd be opportunity.
I mean, we gonna have to stop turning down like broadband. We should have been to
Well,
did that.
we got, I was down there, last, we got $1.4 billion. He got, so we got, I'm already, $1.4 billion. Everybody going there. We got to stay out, we got grants going.
Yeah, 'cause I mean, take AT&T. Do you know internet stayed down a whole month. I'm talking about just this past, they got it up, it stayed up 3 days, and it went back down. Ooh, I'm so mad with AT&T. Ooh, I ain't know what to do. You can't look. I couldn't stream my TV. Watch what I like to watch. You know I like TLC and Lifetime. I couldn't watch none of my channels. I said, oh, look. Was your down, bro? Your internet.
Yeah.
See that? Ooh, that frustrates the hell out of me. It did, boy.
I wasn't here, must be that.
They also got the trust of the people, but they get.
I was in there. Well, we need broadband.
Good money coming in.
They don't like us.
I hope there's some project over here coming in, Hensley over Louisiana manufacturing. Got an opportunity to bring in.
So unhealthy in here.
It's Hensley now.
I'm really not trying to be ugly. I'm just a numbers guy.
Nothing wrong with that.
I'm not an emotional
Is
guy.
that what you call open yet? Is that warehouse?
Yeah, they stocking up now.
Okay, good. See, that's a mojo. We need some economic development.
All these oil companies. Old Fred's,
Afraid?
Old Fred's Pharmacy, whatever.
that's no warehouse. For all the gas companies, Chesapeake, all they have valve and all that.
Well, let's get this other deal on the road.
I'm glad.
Mr.
Yes, some of our leaders.
Not eating
I actually
healthy.
thought it was gonna
I
be
didn't know
short.
Frederick had a brother. Look at me, look at me.
Okay, we'll continue on to item number 2. Discuss plans for a comprehensive study. We'll get to it here. And I think Mr. Norton had put some more deals together, some more numbers together, I would say, for this.
Yes,
But all your data is still coming from SSA, right?
yeah, the 2020 data was coming from SSA. Y'all had asked in one of the prior meetings about if we just were to apply inflation to the 2020 data that we did not adopt, that should coincide with what we currently have. And
Michael, would you get closer to the microphone, please? Would you get closer to the microphone? I can't hear you.
okay, sorry. The 2020 data that was provided that we did not adopt, what was asked of me to do in one of the meetings, prior meetings, was just apply inflation over the past 3.5 years and see if that compares to what we currently have in our schedule. And that's what this spreadsheet is that's attached, this long sheet. And if you look in there, you have a 2023, what we currently are paying minimums hourly and maximum hourly. You have the second set of columns. I realize they're really extremely small to look at, but that's the biggest font we could get for y'all. And I highlighted on there just the Class A driver, just to give y'all an idea of the differences. So if you bear with me, I'll read those off to you. The minimum for a Class A driver that we pay now is $14.38. The maximum is $21.59. In 2020, the minimum was $14.03 and the maximum was $21.04. If you bring it up utilizing inflation that we got from the U.S. Bureau of Labor and Statistics for government employees, your minimum for Class A driver is $16.08 and the maximum is $24.11. Now that was asked of me to do that to apply the inflation numbers, but as I had mentioned before, the compensation study is it's a study that they do comparables with other agencies of similar size, similar scope, what we do, and In 2020, they compared that to 5 other agencies throughout the state and one in Texas as well. So if you were to apply the inflation numbers, that isn't necessarily a comparable to other organizations because maybe the other organizations may not have adopted that inflation number that is on the U.S. Bureau of Labor and Statistics. So that's what's before y'all right now. And every person in the parish, every job title in the parish, if you look at these, I think all of them are under, if you applied inflation to them, all of them are under what inflation says we should be paying our people. Now, comparables, you'd be comparing it to, say, Sabine, Caddo, Bossier, Harrison, Texas, and one other agency that they put in here. They were, at that time, paying their employees different wages, and as compared to them in 2020, you had over 80% of your positions were underpaid here as compared to those. So out of, I think, 56 titled positions, we had 48 of them were not falling below that comparable. So 56 title positions, you have multiple people and you have a ton of Class A drivers,
Yeah.
heavy equipment operators. So
Vehicle.
So we did not adopt the compensation.
no, sir, y'all did
study.
not adopt. The last compensation study y'all adopted was in 2016.
Oh, okay.
And I didn't go back that far because y'all didn't ask me to. I just
I thought it was
took the
2020.
No, that was the last one y'all paid for, and y'all did, but y'all did not adopt it. Yes, sir.
Do you recall from your time in Bossier, you or Lily, either one, or Donald, how they treat health insurance benefits?
Yes, they paid 60% of the premium, and the employee picked up 40%. Now, if you're a single individual on your own, you paid $25 per pay period.
What about family?
Family was 60-40 split.
60-40 split?
Yes, sir.
And what are we?
We're 25-75
For
health insurance.
for everybody, right?
For everybody, yes, sir. Regardless if you're single or if you have your family on it.
That's where we need to stay.
So they don't factor, SSA doesn't factor in that in their 5 other groups that they study.
Well, I was working for the city of Bossier. I did not work for Bossier Parish Police Jury. That was,
They're less than that.
yeah, I don't know that, yes, sir. I don't know what their benefits are. I mean, Lily may have reached out to them.
Well, I mean, as far as that, it's on the actual sheet on this study that was done back in 2020. It does have the insurance plan, and it lists us here, the percentages, co-insurance paid and all that in the actual study. I think it's on page, well, mine don't have a page number, but it's through the back.
Oh, you've got something we don't.
Yeah,
have.
we have a copy of the compensation plan.
Yeah.
We don't have that.
Oh, okay. Apologize. But yeah, this was the last one that was done back in 2020.
Bossier Parish paid, let's see, in 2020, Bossier Parish employee only was, it looks like about a 80-20 split. It's a one, I'd have to, it doesn't give you a percentage, it just tells you,
It just tells you the co-insurance that was paid on their plan.
but I can tell you. Yes, sir.
Yes.
The compensation study it's mainly deal with, not a compensation package. The compensation package consists of the wages, all of the benefits, but the compensation study is mainly just what those jobs are valued at. Not the whole compensation package included in that, and those numbers you see on and top of the bracket. That the compensation package includes whatever you decide on your holidays, sick time, that's a compensation package, but that study doesn't have anything to do with that.
No,
I mean, that number on that, for those positions.
I'm fully aware of that, but what I'm trying to point out is if they took DeSoto Parish and Bossier Parish police juries and did a compensation study on just those two, and we paid $1 and they paid $1.10, we paid 75-25 of everybody in the family, and they only paid 80-20 of the employee and none of the rest of the family, the dependents, then it's more than a 10-cent difference. You follow me?
I follow the compensation package, but not the wages.
So what I'm saying is that because if you look at my scenario I just gave you, then you could say Bossier Parish pays more because they pay 10 cents more. But is that really 10 cents more, or does an employee and this is hypothetical, I'm making these numbers up, but you could say that an employee of DeSoto Parish has it better because insurance is high and insurance changes drastically every year. It's gone up 13-14%, I think, the last 7-8 years for sure.
Talking apple to apple, are you talking about the compensation, the numbers you're talking about is for what he paying people, or are you talking about the compensation package?
I'm talking about numbers.
No, the numbers.
And we may not pay the same number as a neighboring parish. What I'm asking him is, does this study account for other things?
And the answer to that is yes. They compare, for example, in 2020, they compared the health insurance plan benefit for the employee only and employee and family. In DeSoto Parish, the employee only paid $129.18. In Bossier Parish, the employee only paid $157.53. Caddo Parish, the employee only paid $203. So it went up. However, in Webster Parish, they paid $65 and then $60 respectively. So they take agencies that are of similar size and similar scope, if you will, work on roads, have an OCS, et cetera, and they compare us to that. So, and they're comparing also, I mean, they go down into this thing, they do the co-insurance annual out-of-pocket premium for insurance. They compare your vacation days, they compare holidays, they put all that stuff in there. And that's part of why I was asking if y'all wanted to do a comp study versus just adding inflation onto the dollars, because you might be inflating the scale too much if you just do we don't know because we don't have a recent comp study done.
Right.
So what you're talking about is companies that comparable to us, right?
Right.
That's what you're trying to do. I'm talking about.
You say we're compared to Bossier Parish in there?
And in the last comp study that y'all had done, they compare the DeSoto Parish Police Jury in 2020 to Bossier Parish Police Jury.
They should have never done that.
And to Caddo Parish Tax Commission.
That either.
And to Webster Parish and to Harrison County, Texas.
Those are, Harrison County is in Webster, you know, comparing them to DeSoto Parish.
And I don't know if they would do the same agencies or not, you know, in a new comp study. I don't know which ones that they would pull from.
Yeah, they probably do somebody different every time, but I don't know what they did in 16, but.
I mean, even if they comparing Bossier Parish to us, or what, the thing is, when it comes to heavy equipment operators, truck drivers, okay, when you get certified, we learn what we should be getting paid. Know what I'm saying? They gonna tell a truck driver, driving such and such, you driving this kind of truck, then this is what you need to be getting paid. If you are a heavy equipment operator, you doing the dozer, they all got different things. And trust me, these people that's going to truck driving school, they taught that in class. This is what you should be making. I just talked to, I was over in your district, over in Logansport yesterday. it was at least 6 truck drivers out there, and I'm asking them, hey, you still driving trucks? Yes, ma'am. I said, well, the police, See what I'm saying? That ain't worth my CDL license, Miss Jerry. And all of them had the same answer. What I'm telling y'all, even if they compare to Bossier, and Bossier might be a larger parish, these people learning what they should be paid. You can type in the computer, and you can type in whatever tax it is, and it's gonna tell you just how much to expect as for your salary. So we just gonna have to tighten up, really for real, on these people with these salaries and running this equipment and stuff, cause we not up to par. We not fitting the criteria. We gotta do better. That's all I'm saying about the comp study. We gonna have to do better when it comes to paying our employers, or we not gonna have any. And especially with all these new companies and jobs coming in, trust me, these people gonna be gone. And I keep stressing that to y'all. I mean, just take like IP, International Paper Company hiring everybody now, top dollar. Even, it don't make no difference. You got a felony, they don't care. They hiring everybody. Trust me, they are at top dollar. These folks going in IP starting off with $20-something out. We got to think about that. We got to think about our competition, because it is a competition. These people want to get paid for their tasks. They do. And I don't blame them, because I know how it is. Rodriguez will tell you, he was equipment operator, he can tell you.
Yeah, I understand that we're at about saving money, but at the same time, we could be shooting ourselves in the foot if we've not got the numbers lined up. That's just me. In the future to come.
Well, and we can't keep up. You know, they shared it all over social media today that come be a school bus operator with DeSoto Parish, earn $30 an hour.
See what I'm talking about?
CDL driver. But the thing is, everything, whether you buy a drink or a cell phone or a school bus driver, is supply and demand. That's how the market's set up. They can't hire every CDL driver in the parish because they don't need every CDL driver. They only need however many bus drivers they need.
They need a lot of them.
I understand, but it's still a number. And I mean, apparently they're not. I'm just saying you can't just factor in and say, yes, our employees need to get paid, and they need to be a fair wage.
Yeah, I was about to say, we just need to be fair.
It needs to be a fair wage, and I'm not opposed to increasing the wages. We already increased them twice last year, right? Or was that the year before?
Year before.
It was the year before and once last year. I'm not opposed. What I was arguing for at the beginning when this failed was let's take the money that we're going to spend on this study and give it to the people. I'd rather give that money to the people than give it to somebody at SSA somewhere else or whoever that in Baton Rouge.
Well, I can halfway agree with you on that, because like I say, these computers are amazing. You can type that up in a computer, type in a task, and it's going to, you can ask the question. What's the expected salary for a dozer driver or backhoe driver? And it's gonna tell you. You can do it by states. You can put in whatever state you're doing, the whole 9. And we can do it from there. But we need to be fair in doing it. I'm like the president now. We gonna have to be fair in doing it. I don't mind. I ain't got no problem with getting that money to the people, but maybe we need to try that, Mr. Mike.
But also, we want to make sure our numbers is lining up with society.
Yeah.
I know we're not going to be able to get everybody or compete with other organization or other company. But the digital world is cracking down on us. Solid, you won't see this on the news, but you got Amazon, all the big companies worldwide, they laying off. 3,000 people, 2,500 people. Everything going to digital and robots.
That won't last long.
I wouldn't just say that right now. But I just feel like we should, it's like we're in the unknown. I mean, yeah, distribute it out if you're gonna do that way, but we still would be in the unknown, don't know. Are we on the right track with our employees? That's the first and foremost. I just want to be fair.
Did you say 75% of them have maxed out their step?
I don't,
Roughly.
yeah, it was,
Yeah,
it was over 70%, yes, sir.
So apparently we're not mistreating them.
No,
you know,
no.
Putting them in a prisoner camp.
No, we're not.
But they are saying, I'm gonna tell you about the maxed out, cause a lot of them saying, Miss Brea, I love working for the parish, but it's time for me to move around, because I can't go no further. I'm stagnated. And I hear that from a lot of our employees, that they stagnated and they got to move forward, because you got 3-4 of them at the landfill talking that very thing right now.
I'm glad you brought that up, because if we know exactly what the Comstead our numbers, that way we could fulfill our steps guide that we were looking at, so they won't get maxed out so easy.
Right, but based upon, and that was kind of the second part of what I wanted to do with this, after I got a comp study
Right.
done, I was gonna propose to increase your steps from 6 to 12. If you double them, you incentivize people to stay longer, okay? You still have the same hourly minimum and maximum. If you were to, say, adopt the scale that we put together with the inflation, you have a new top out. There might be some people who are above this because they get COLAs beyond their steps and they've been here a long time. You just won't be able to get away from that. You're gonna have some people who are here more than 15, 20 years that are gonna be
They're maxed out.
way above that. They've maxed out for a long time. But you're gonna capture the majority of your employees, and if you break up the steps, you incentivize them to stay longer. You don't have that conversation at the landfill like Ms. Burrell's talking about. Well, we've maxed out, we're not really making anything more, which I would argue is not entirely true. They do get COLAs, and the jury has been very generous with their COLAs. My first year here, y'all did the 5.9, and the second year, you did the 3. And so that's a lot more than a lot of other agencies get. I promise you, I came from one, we didn't get anything for 8 years in Bossier.
And I rather for our employees to just not be here. You might have a lot of them just here. That's it, just here. With adding the steps, they got the energy to know that they're gonna move forward a little bit more, They maxed out, they just here. They're not trying to improve nothing, they just here. You know. Yes, sir.
You know, but you know the reason people are already maxed out, it's not really because of the steps. It's because we hadn't been making adjustment here on the salary. That's not the reason the steps, when you make adjustment on the salary, you automatically give an opportunity to move up. And the compensation study does that. Where I came from, every year, they didn't wait till the study. You know, the brackets moved up because every year your coat gonna go up. Everything goes up. I mean, I don't know one year yet something gone down. And so it takes care of
Your
itself.
paycheck.
I know we look at this.
No, it stays the
Like
same.
we're doing somewhere for the employee, but really the employee's getting behind. And the reason those guys are maxed out, because when I was there too, we were not adjusting the brackets up like we should have been. And here 2016, the last time. When I came on as a jury, I mean, I talked about a conversation study with Steve, he embraced that idea. And we realized we weren't paying our people. They wanted standing around doing anything, but we wasn't paying them anything. They were the lowest paid people around here. Once we started looking at companies and saw how bad it was, we made an adjustment. And then people start, feeling a little bit more pride in themselves. But they wouldn't make, you can't even work from door to heel.
Yeah.
You can't even work from door to heel. You was a slap in the face.
Yep.
I'm just saying,
That's what they
I'm
say.
honest about it. The reason those salaries are where they are, because all those years, we just sit here and not do our due diligence to raise them up. Because where I came from, I don't ever recall us going back. Practically every year, our minimum and maximum was being moved. May have been slightly, but it was moving every year. May not have been big, but slightly, it moved every year. Because guess what? My dad owned a store back in the years, that day, gas was 25 cents a gallon. Look at it, so it was 25 cents a gallon. How much gas now?
$3.30, $3.50.
Okay, you know what I'm talking about, Mr. You had a grocery store. When you first started, the food was, $1 went a long way.
Sure did.
You give a person $1 now. You start getting birthday present $1 years ago. You gotta give $100 almost now for them to say thank you.
You ain't lying.
That's just the way things are. So the reason they are topped out, because when I was even there, we were not making the adjustments like we should have been. So they're just sitting there because they can't make any money, not because of the step, because we didn't make the adjustment.
Right. So any more questions?
So what we wanna do?
I mean, any more discussion?
When was that?
What we can do, Mr.
I got a question for Ms. Amy. I know a lot of people, like I say, they go on the website to see about the job. Do a lot of people call and ask, are we hiring, or?
I said, I don't mind having a study.
Okay.
Me either.
What Mr. Willis say?
You say they don't be qualified. Okay.
Car about truck driving job.
Can't operate a shovel.
And work at Walmart. Man, it's a truck driving job, not a Walmart job.
But they think they supposed to.
Yeah.
They figure we desperate because the truck drivers don't wanna come.
Yeah.
That's what that is. But they desperate, they probably gonna house.
So when was the last study?
So I know this is not a vote, it's just a discussion, but
Maybe we should do another
I think this needs to go back on the agenda
do another company.
to a regular meeting, sir.
Can't for
90 days, yeah.
Well, y'all didn't vote it down, you
We didn't
deferred
vote
it.
it down.
We just
You
deferred.
deferred it to a workshop.
Workshop.
That was your action the last time.
Yep.
So
we
we're
can
trying to
go
put it back
there.
on to get another,
It can go under old business next Monday if that's what y'all want to do. But we need to know how you want the motion. Do you want the motion to do the comp study, or do you want the motion to adopt the new schedule as prepared?
Do a comp study. That's what I want.
Yeah.
We need to do a comp, we need to know where we are, really honestly.
Well, all we can do is put it on there as a comp study and vote, and then we'll see where we're at.
Don't do a comp study, you're not gonna get good numbers. You think you're wasting money, but what other way can you do it? Besides getting one of your people in the office, start going around every conversation, hey, what you paying now, that's not gonna work. It'll cost you more to do that than have more.
Mr. Jones?
Because
You'd be having people that are living here within
Well,
this
first of all, you
parish.
gotta find
I'm
the
sorry,
company.
I'm sorry, I
Yeah,
interrupted.
first of all, you gotta find the company that's your size and that like you. That's what they do.
And the comp study's purpose is the reason they take agencies that are a little bit larger, some that are smaller, is to get an average for your area. And that's what the comp study does. That's the purpose of it.
Okay. Anything else, Ms. Burford?
So this is the 2020, this is the 2020 that
Yes,
we
sir.
didn't adopt.
That's correct.
This is part of it.
2024.
So we just need to be mindful if we
How
order
much is
another
the
comp
comp
study. If you're gonna vote for another comp study, you need to be prepared to vote to adopt it.
Yes, sir.
Because it doesn't need to be repeated.
Right,
twice.
right.
So we pay to get it, and
Yeah.
we don't have votes to adopt it.
That's my recommendation.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
So that's what we'll put on the agenda
Jody will do it for
and
you.
be prepared to adopt,
Yes, sir.
Yep.
if you would. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Any more discussion?
No, sir. I didn't get that.
A motion to adjourn?
Second.
Ms. Burrell, second by Mr. Rowe.
She may not have given-
We adjourn. Thank everyone.
You forget.
Greatly